You probably know someone like this. Maybe it's a friend who always seems to have everything under control. Maybe it's a coworker who handles every problem without ever saying a word. Maybe it's a family member who shows up for everyone else but somehow never needs anything in return. Or maybe it's you. And from the outside, these people look strong. They look capable. They look like they've just figured something out that the rest of us haven't. But here's what most people don't see. Behind that self-sufficiency is a mind that has been quietly carrying weight for a very long time. And today, we're going to talk about what's really going on inside the person who never asks for help, because it's not what most people think. Here's the thing about people who never ask for help. They didn't wake up one day and decide to do everything alone. It started way earlier than that. For a lot of these people, asking for help as a kid didn't go the way it was supposed to. Maybe they asked and nobody came. Maybe they cried and were told to stop being dramatic. Maybe they needed something and the adults around them were too busy, too stressed, or too checked out to notice. They learned that needing things made people uncomfortable. They learned that showing weakness meant being a burden. And most importantly, they learned that the only person they could really count on was themselves. So they stopped asking, not because they didn't need anything, but because at some point, asking just didn't feel safe anymore. Now, here's what makes this really interesting. If you ask one of these people why they don't reach out when they're struggling, most of them won't say it's because they're afraid. They'll say things like, I don't want to bother anyone. I don't want to make it a big deal. I can handle it. Other people have bigger problems. And they genuinely believe that. But underneath all of those reasons is something much deeper. It's the belief that their needs are too much, that if they show people how much they're actually caring, those people will pull away. That love and connection are things you earn by being easy, by being low maintenance, by never needing anything. And so instead of reaching out, they internalize everything. They sit with problems alone at 2 a.m. They replay situations in their head over and over, trying to figure things out on their own. They get really good at functioning while quietly falling apart on the inside. And the worst part? They're often so good at looking fine that nobody even thinks to check on them. So if all of that is the cost, why don't they just ask for help? Why don't they just let people in? Because it's not that simple. And this is the part that most people on the outside don't understand. For someone who learned early on that needing things wasn't safe, asking for help as an adult doesn't just feel uncomfortable. It feels threatening. It triggers something deep in them that says this is dangerous. You're going to get hurt. You're going to be rejected. You're going to be too much. And even when they're in a relationship with someone who is genuinely kind and safe, that old programming still kicks in because their nervous system doesn't know the difference between then and now. It just knows that vulnerability has led to pain before, and it's not willing to take that risk again. So they keep going. They keep handling things. They keep saying they're fine, not because they are, but because on some level, being fine feels like the only option they've ever really had. Here's something most people don't think about. Doing everything alone takes a toll. Not just physically, emotionally, mentally. Over time, the person who never asks for help starts to feel a very specific kind of loneliness. Not the kind that comes from being around no one. The kind that comes from being around people and still feeling completely unseen. Because when you never let anyone in, when you never let anyone help you, you're also never letting anyone really know you. And that gap between who you show the world and what you're actually feeling on the inside, that gap gets wider every year. Some of these people start to feel resentful without fully understanding why. They give so much to everyone around them and they never get that same energy back. But here's the hard truth. Most of the time, the people around them would help if they knew. They just don't know because they were never told. And that's the quiet trap of it all. The person who never asks for help often ends up feeling alone in a room full of people who actually care about them. Here's the thing. People who never ask for help don't need someone to fix them. They don't need to be pushed or pressured into opening up. What they need is something a lot simpler than that. They need to experience over and over again that asking for help doesn't end in rejection, that showing someone they're struggling doesn't make that person leave, that being vulnerable doesn't make them a burden. They need safe moments, small ones, where they let someone in just a little and nothing bad happens. And then again, and again, until slowly the old belief starts to lose its grip. And if you are this person, here's what I want you to hear. The strength you built by doing everything alone, it's real, but it was never supposed to be permanent. It was a survival skill. And survival skills are meant to get you through the hard part, not to run your entire life. You are allowed to need things. You are allowed to be tired. You are allowed to say, I'm not okay, and let someone sit with you in that. Asking for help doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. And the people who actually love you, they've been waiting for you to let them show up. So if you know someone like this, check on them. Not just the people who look like they're struggling. Check on the strong ones. Check on the one who always shows up for everyone else. Check on the one who says they're fine a little too quickly. Because sometimes the people who need help the most are the ones who have spent their whole lives convincing everyone, including themselves, that they don't. If this hit close to home, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And I'll see you in the next one.